Hi. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. I hope you can hear me. I'm kind of sitting in the car because it's a nice quiet spot. And it's hot out right now, really hot. And it's nice to have the air going. Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about today was the art and discipline of documentation. So I wrote some notes out on this napkin here because that's all I had. Hey, paper is paper, right? And I have been designed really well by the Lord to be a chief documentator. Yeah, I think that's a made up word. But at any rate, I do a lot of documentation because this is one of the things that I'm really driven to. But I like to talk about this because it's kind of actually an important thing for all of us to be doing. And for some of us, it's going to take more discipline than others. For me, it's just kind of, I actually enjoy doing it, so. But I just want to take a look at all of the reasons why documentation of our life is important. The first one, actually, main reason is that life is actually really short, and we actually don't know how short it really is because we don't have an idea of the time frame that we've been given from heaven, right? But we need to leave a trail behind us of the things that our life was about and represented, what we experienced. These are all reasons of why we should be documenting our life, okay? So we wouldn't have history written down if somebody didn't document it, okay? These are eyewitnesses back hundreds, maybe thousands of years that have documented life. So we can read about that today and know what happened in certain cases. If those people and royalty courts, and it was a really big deal to be scribes, they didn't write that all down, we would probably not know too much about it. I mean, yes, we can go on our little archaeological digs and try to figure out things from there, but thank the Lord that they scribed and went and scribbled on their little parchment papers and laid out history for us. So we're actually making and documenting history when we write down our lives for the next generation. Okay? Another reason is for testimony. Testimony is huge, especially if you're a follower of Christ. We need to encourage each other. And I don't know about you, but I like to read stories of old, of what happened in certain revivals or what happened in certain towns and or churches, and just more than that, just the testimony of many other things, how people felt about that and that it actually did happen. And anyway, testimony is huge. My faith encourages your faith and vice versa. When something awesome happens for you and the Lord has done a miracle in your life, sharing it is actually a really important part of that miracle. So documenting your testimony, things are easier to remember. You know, sometimes we think that we have memories of steel and this moment we'll just never forget. Well, maybe that is true on some cases and some levels, but if you go through an experience and it's really very raw in the moment, getting it all out onto paper or into your computer, wherever it is that you're putting it, actually really captures that moment very fresh. So a lot of those little intricate pieces and such, um, it 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 really helps us to be very it helps us remember that moment more so than um, um, if we just let it sit and marinate. So actually getting it out is very important. Hold on just one second. I have to answer the window. Hey, I'm just doing a live thing. I'll catch you. Sorry. I have a gal that she actually drove up and was like looking at the window waiting for me to answer her. I'm sorry. That was a slight interruption, but this is the joy of doing live videos. Okay, so now I'm getting my little thinking cap back on. Sorry. Okay, so we have history, we have testimony. These are all reasons of why we need to be documenting our lives, okay? Easier to remember. So I'm stuck on that one. I actually I keep various different journals about different things in different spaces, and I'll get to that in a minute when I give you samples and ways that you can document things. But all throughout Scripture, the Lord is constantly telling his people, please remember, 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 remember. You've got to remember and tell the next generations of what happened here. And he wanted them to set up monuments all over the place. Okay? So it's important for us to remember the things that we went through. The huge ordeals. Some are ugly, some are beautiful, and there's just a whole big melting pot that we call life. And you know, just even I've personally kept a journal for since I was 15. So it's been a while now, and I still keep that journal. And I can go back through and read what I wrote, and pieces of that I'll be like, wow, we went through that. Yes, we did. I remember, yes. And those, you know, you start remembering what it was like. But also there are times where, you know, I'll have put something down and I'll be like, wow, I have really moved from that person to a whole another person. It's crazy. Yes. So remembering the things that the Lord has carried us through is really important, and it's really important to be able to share it with others, like very much our testimony, right? You're giving a gift to those that you leave behind you, that are coming up behind you. And I know I didn't really know my grandparents very well. They had their own lives. They didn't share it very well with us as their grandkids. And I think it would have been fantastic to be able to have read about what their hearts and minds were, but they didn't leave anything like that. So it's just a person that's, you know, ends up being that somebody you just don't know. And so you're actually giving a gift to those that are left behind you when you leave that portion of yourself down in a place where people can read it and understand who you are and what you went through. Okay, it's a gift. It's this kind of, it's also a gift to your children. Like if you have children, I think it's a gift. I've already had requests like, Mom, when you die, can I go through your journals? Be like, yes, that's what they're there for. No, my mother always said, don't write anything in your journals that you don't want other people reading eventually. So yes, you kind of need to be careful about super intimate details, I suppose. Yeah, you do need to think, hey, somebody's gonna go rifling through this at some point. So yeah, use some discretion maybe. Um, it is a really healthy outlet for us to be able to empty out our emotions and just everything that we go through into that writing space. You may think, oh, I'm a horrible writer, or I've never done it before, or I don't think I could do it. Who would want to read it? Well, maybe it's for you. Maybe it's for you and your own emotional health to just get it out. It's kind of like a brain vomit almost, when you're just feeling really sick and tight and wound up, and you just need to put it somewhere. Maybe you just don't have somebody to talk to, or you can't afford to pay somebody to talk to, or whatever the case is. But just getting it out, even if you think that you aren't a great writer, is healthy. It's really healthy for us. It's excellent communication to the different generations. I know one thing that I have uh, attempted to do is to, write letters to my kids for in the future. Like if your kids are young, I did this when they were just babies, just brand new, and I wrote them a letter to their 16-year-old self or their 18-year-old self, and they get to read that. And that was something that I sent into the future just in case something happened to me, and I wanted them to be able to have that at that checkpoint in their life. And it's really fun and interesting thing to do when you're looking down at your like newborn baby and you're just like, I can't imagine this human being an adult, but imagine it and write out your heart to them um, as you imagine them being an adult. What would you want them to know if you weren't no longer in the picture? It doesn't have to be long, or it could be just a short note, but what a sweet thing to send into the future to your babies, right? And this goes for fathers too. This isn't just for mamas. This is for daddies too, because you know what? Daddies are really important in the lives of their kids. And don't let anyone tell you differently. You are very important to your family. Okay? All right, so here are some samples of things that I have done, and you don't have to do this, but I am sharing this with you because you is talk about those. Hopefully I'm still on. I got a call interruption. I'll tell you what, everybody needs to talk to me right now. Something interesting that I have. Okay, there we are. We're back. This is fantastic because you can just feel secure in knowing that you don't have to go to those doctors to get a bunch of papers that you don't understand, or maybe you go to see several doctors. You don't remember who you saw, when you saw it, when the last time this episode happened. If like you deal with migraines, just write it down. I had a migraine this date, lasted this amount of time. If you're experiencing any types of medical problems for long periods of time, then you can take that into the doctor and say, hey, this is my journal of what has been happening on the dates and how long the duration lasted. Okay, it's really fantastic, and it takes a little bit of discipline, like I said, just a little bit of discipline. But if you can remember just to jot it down, it'll save you like a lot of stress, and it will help your doctors figure out as you go, especially if you're seeing multiple ones, how to best help you. And I also do this for our pets. So when they go and they get their vaccinations or their teeth cleaned or they were sick or anything like that, it just put it down. Put it all down and have each little section for each person or pet. Because like I said, we think we're going to remember all of this stuff, and we have a really hard time. I have a hard time remembering it, and, I try to stay disciplined on it. But anyway, I actually like paper calendars. I know, it's behind the times. I get chastised a lot by my family. You gotta move to the digital calendar. I'm feeling like I need to try to straddle both of them. I just like the paper because you can't push the delete button on it. And plus, I do keep my calendars for a few years just in case I need something out of it. Of course, I do keep the journals. I already told you that. So what that looks like is, actually for me, it's every couple of weeks usually. And I just keep a lot of documentation on just kind of my life, what's happening in it, even things in the lives of maybe family members or friends or, whatever you're involved with. And pieces of it you can also talk to the Lord on, or what you feel like the Lord has been saying to you. Like, the world is your oyster when it comes to your journal and what you want to document in that and put down. Always put down a date, okay? And if you're making it on your computer and it's got like the multiple pages that you're going to, make sure you date each page, because if you go to print that out, it's not going to have a date on all of the pages. It'll just have a date on one page. And then if you get them all mixed up, or somebody comes back in 50 years and is reading it, they don't know what goes with what. So make sure it's all connected. I will print mine out and keep it into a notebook if I'm not handwriting it. Okay? Handwriting is actually a really sweet way to journal. However, what I've come to figure out is that my life is so full and filled, and there's so much to write about, at least currently, that it would take me hours, and I'd get my hand cramped if I did it all by hand. On top of that, a lot of people maybe won't be able to read your handwriting. So consider keeping your hand done journals in a shorter format and just going to town on the typewriter. You can get a whole lot more stacked in there, especially if you lead a busy life. Okay, jars of brief things. Okay, I went to like a Hobby Lobby type place, and I bought a really pretty lantern, and then I cut out a whole bunch of little paper things about this big and put them all in a little pretty box along with pens. And what I do is, it'd be best if you did this weekly, especially if you have kids. This is a great teaching opportunity if you have kids. But what I do is set it on the table, hand out a couple of the little blank little paper things to the kids, and I say, okay, you're going to write out a couple of things that the Lord has blessed you with, or that you're thankful for, that it has happened this last week. Like, how did God answer your prayer? How did you get blessed? What did you enjoy about life? And put it down, and don't forget your name and the date. Name and date, name and date. Sometimes that gets forgotten, and then you go back through them and you're like, who wrote this? So don't forget the name and date. That's like, I'm always a drill sergeant about that. But for me, We're in a bit of a transition right now, so we don't have a lot of space for our things, and I am keeping documentation on all the ways that God has been showing up, and um, every single time, especially the big things. But you can always tack on the little things. The little things count. They absolutely do. But it's all getting documented, even if I don't have a way to put it into the paper thing. If you're out and about or on a trip or something like that and you are not around your little paper things, just put it in your notes app in your phone or send yourself an email. Because at the end of the year, you get to go through all of those and they get spread out all over the table. And you're like, wow, look at all of these fantastic things that happen to us as a family and places where God showed up. And these are tiny little monuments and places to remember the goodness of God. Because He is good no matter what is happening, no matter what is happening in our life. He is always good. Always good. And maybe at some point, we could get enough of those and just make a whole wall eventually someday of just all the times that we actually caught, because there's so many places where God shows up and we don't recognize it or we don't acknowledge it. So just acknowledging all the little pieces just creates this culture of gratitude and thankfulness, and just helping us be aware that God is there and He is answering our prayers and He is taking care of us. He is the provider. And yeah, so discipline yourself to do that. It also helps us be much more aware of our life and how we're living it. It trains us and teaches us to look for the good things in everything else that's out there. Okay? So, yeah. And I like to set it right by the front door, because as soon as you walk in, you're looking at that thing and you're like, oh, I got something to put in it for today. So anyways, it is really super fun to be able to look at it all out on the table at the end of the year and go, oh, look at this, look. Yes, God is good. All right, the other thing that I have kept is journals when my kids were especially small. There was a woman that gave me a journal when my first was born. I have 4. And she said, hey, you think you're going to remember all these little things and the cute things that your kids say, but you don't. And there's a handful that you remember. So write it down, put it here. And so that started me on recording all the funny little things that they said, when I could, I did the best that I could do, and actually do have a lot of things that that our kids did or said that are super funny or challenging or whatever the case is. And always put the date, always put who said it. But it's such a treat and such a gift to you as their parent, but more so, they love to hear about all of those stories that you recorded and remembered for them. And they feel valued, and you have just something that is marvelous in your possession. Okay? Letters to the future. This is something else that you can do. If you're a grandparent or a parent or an aunt or an uncle, or even just to yourself, you want to write a future letter to yourself to open on your 50th birthday or 60th birthday, or maybe there's an anniversary, or maybe you want to write something to your spouse that's made to open in like 10 years. It's super fun to do. Creating that time capsule, but that's, again, documentation. And we can also practice really the prophetic in our lives when we do this, as we're speaking over our family and our friends and ourselves even. So letters to the future, that can be a fun thing to do. Okay. The other thing that I like to document on is also things that maybe happen with your house or warranties that you buy. Kind of include that into the medical journal along with the pets. If you get a big enough one, you can really pack it in there. But you know, these warranty things, they're actually kind of difficult to remember. And what is it about warranties? You buy it and then it's like done. I always feel like it just doesn't last long enough. Anyway, so yeah, keeping track of the warranties or how often you call a fix-it man to come out and fix your washing machine. It'll tell you when you need to just buy a new one, maybe. Or, you know, when the last time you painted your house, or your car needs an oil change or something like that. You can just keep it all in that place, and it just kind of relieves your head of clutter of trying to think, oh, I gotta remember to do that. And yeah, I even keep track of like the dog's licensing and things like that. So it's just I know it takes discipline, but in the long end, you're going to be grateful that you did this. You're going to be grateful that you did this, because it's going to shave off a whole bunch of stress in your life when it comes to the practicality of documentation. And actually, at one point in the last couple of years, my documentation of my life actually settled a family argument over something. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but I actually recorded it some, I don't know, 20 years ago, and I had a couple of siblings that were arguing about something that had happened. One said it didn't happen, the other one said it did. Lo and behold, I had it in my journal, and I settled the argument. So, okay, another phone call interruption. I'm telling you, I'm very popular today for some reason. So, that's what I have for you guys today on this live. I'm supposed to be doing these lives at least once a week. And so I hope you've enjoyed my little knowledge on why we should documentation. I'm saying this completely wrong. So, sorry. Sorry about that. No, I'm not sorry. We're inventing new things, because that's what we do. We're inventors of new things. That's what inventors do. I just hope that, you know, all of these things might help encourage you guys to understand that your lives are very valuable. I mean, aside from the practical side of things, it just saves us a lot of stress in the long end of it. But just that you know that your life is valuable, even if you don't think that it is. You need to change that mindset, because it is. You're valuable. A special, unique blend and creation that God made, and He only made one of you, and He only made one of your type of mind, and He only made one of your type of life, and you alone have those unique experiences, and out of those experiences that you have lived, You get to share with the world your perspective on that and how you would have maybe done things differently or valued certain things more. Um, your life and documentation is a gift to the world. So don't think that it's not, and don't think that it's hard. It's not hard to do. And once you get into a rhythm of it, you start feeling. For me, it's like I start feeling in my mental state starts getting clogged and foggy, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I need to write. I need to write. And getting it all out just brings a lot of clarity, and it feels good, and it's kind of just a cleansing process, really. So don't be afraid, and don't think that you have nothing to say and share with the world, because you do. You absolutely do. And we all need the you to share those testimonies and your experience, and it just makes the world a better place. We share each other with each other, you know. So anyway, I hope that all of this has helped you in some way today and into the future. And I guess that's probably all I have. So go and figure out how you want to document your life in all those many, many different ways that you get to share yourself. Because just because when we die and our spirits go traipsing off to a whole nother location, you know, you can leave that legacy in a form of documentation. So please do it. Please do it and give to those that are coming up behind you, or maybe even in front of you. Okay, it's actually a pretty fantastic thing. All right, okay, guys, I think that's it. And God bless, and we will see you next time.